Sahadev here, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter this whole expectation that scaling a business is just some straightforward upward line. You know, the graphs I'm talking about, the ones where revenue just climbs neatly year after year? Yeah, well, anyone who's actually built a company knows reality looks absolutely nothing like that. So we're going to break down a really fascinating ascension framework that maps out exactly what it takes to scale an industrial business. Let's get into it.
Now, what's truly fascinating about this concept is how growth is framed. It's not just a revenue metric, it's a literal psychological evolution. Revenue, that's just a lagging indicator. The leading indicator, the thing actually driving those numbers up, is how your mind, as a founder, and by extension your entire company's operational mindset, evolves. Think about it. If you try to run a massive enterprise with a startup brain, the whole thing just shatters.
So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the myth of linear growth. Then, move from survival to stability. Explore industrialization and profitable scale, dive into the unlearning growth multiplier, and wrap up with your next level mindset.
Starting off with Section 1, the myth of linear growth and evolving your mindset.
So there are 4 distinct stages of business growth, and honestly, they function like completely different game levels. You start out at survival, fight your way up to stability, upgrade to industrialization, and eventually, if you play your cards right, you reach profitable scale. And the catch? Each of these 4 steps requires a totally different set of tools, tactics, and mentalities.
Moving to Section 2, from survival to stability. Let's unpack the early tiers.
All right, so the crucial starting point of Stage 1, survival, happens right here in the 0 to 10 crore bracket. In this phase, let's be real, you aren't worrying about global market dominance or some 10-year strategic vision. You are worried about keeping the lights on. This is the ultimate, grueling proving ground for your entire business concept.
If you're currently waking up in a cold sweat, agonizing over cash flow discipline and landing those crucial first customers, well, you're firmly in the foundational survival stage. Everything here is about intense cost awareness and just setting up the most basic functional systems. It's gritty, it's hands-on, and literally every single rupee matters. You are quite literally building the airplane while you're flying it.
Because of that, the core decision-making matrix at this level is just this constant tug-of-war. You're constantly weighing your immediate daily survival against building stability for the next 6 months. Every single choice is filtered through this question. How do I build stability for the next half year? You're just oscillating between putting out today's fires and trying to fireproof the whole building for tomorrow.
But let's say you hit that 10 to 50 crore revenue band. First off, congratulations, you survived the initial trial by fire. Welcome to Stage 2, stability. You've proven you have a business that the market actually wants. But the game just changed entirely.
Here, your focus has to shift drastically toward process discipline, team building, and finally letting go of jugaad, or those quick workarounds. Look, when you're small, hacking things together, that jugaad mentality is a total superpower, right? It makes you agile. But at 10 to 50 crores, those quick fixes become massive liabilities. Now, you desperately need structure, consistency, and a really keen eye for controlling operational leakages, all while building solid customer credibility.
And to actually beat this level, you must completely shift from doing everything yourself to deliberately building systems. The biggest trap founders fall into right here is the hero complex. You cannot be the bottleneck anymore. You literally have to step back from the daily grind and become an architect of systems, rather than just being the hardest worker in the room.
Section 3, industrialization and profitable scale. This is about mastering growth.
Stage 3 is industrialization, and this takes place when a business hits the 50 to 100 crore mark. The air gets pretty thin up here, folks. You aren't just managing people anymore, you are managing managers.
Survival? No longer the issue. Now you absolutely must focus on scalable operations, upgrading your tech, and establishing strong second-line leadership. You need absolute SOP-driven execution. Standard operating procedures are your new best friend. Plus, smart capital expenditure decisions become hypercritical. Think about it. A bad CapEx decision here doesn't just cost a little money, it derails years of momentum. And without a truly strong second line of leadership, you simply cannot sustain this size.
The massive reality shift you face here is recognizing that tighter operational control directly equates to better profitability. Loose execution might have been totally fine when margins were wide and growth was easy, but at this scale, waste multiplies exponentially. Better control through those SOPs and tech upgrades is what directly feeds your bottom line.
Finally, we reach the apex,
Stage 4, profitable scale. This is strictly operating above the 100 crore threshold. This is what you've been working toward all along.
This level demands a rigorous, almost obsessive focus on the quality of growth. You're prioritizing profitability over sheer volume and utilizing strictly data-driven decisions. You are no longer chasing every single sale. You want the right sales. You need to actively reduce your dependency on any single large customer to insulate yourself from market shocks. Cost management becomes highly strategic, and those gut feelings you relied on, they're entirely replaced by cold, hard data.
This is the ultimate evolution right here, shifting entirely from an operator working in the business to an investor working on the business. You are no longer turning the gears yourself. You're out there allocating capital, evaluating macro trends, and optimizing the entire machine from the outside.
Moving into Section 4, the unlearning growth multiplier, or upgrading yourself.
You see, the real growth multiplier isn't just working harder or putting in more hours. It actually demands unlearning the very models that brought you past success. I know, it's painfully counterintuitive. Human nature tells us to just repeat what works before, but your past success models absolutely have to evolve. Your experience must be sharpened with completely new perspectives. The strong practices of yesterday need severe refinement for tomorrow.
So the single most crucial takeaway from this explainer is this: the mechanics of your previous level will not defeat the bosses of the next. The relentless hustle that got you out of survival mode, that is the exact same hustle that will prevent you from building scalable systems in the stability phase. You have to aggressively upgrade your own mental operating system.
Which brings us to our final section, your next level mindset, a new beginning. Always remember that every single next level is a new beginning. It requires 3 fundamental shifts: a new vision, a new mission, and an entirely new thinking. You simply cannot cross into the 50 or 100 core mark by just doing the 10 core things slightly better. You need a total paradigm shift.
The industry offers opportunities at every single one of these stages. But ultimately, it's your willingness to unlearn that decides your ceiling. So I want you to ask yourself, are you building an industrial legacy, or are you just trapped in a really expensive, highly stressful job of your own making? Diagnose your stage and start planning your evolution. Once again, I'm Serge K. Sadev. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.